As soon as the woman moved into her newly purchased mansion, she noticed the neighbors packing their bags to move out. The couple quickly approached to ask what was going on, but the neighbors acted as if they had seen a ghost. The neighbors got into their car and drove away. When the couple caught up, they noticed that the streets were filled with cars, and the man quickly started the car, taking his wife and daughter along. They would be safe. However, not long after they started driving, they saw that the cars that had just left were suddenly turning back one by one. The three of them exchanged puzzled looks, not knowing what was going on. He then turned on the car radio, hoping to hear some news. They almost crashed into the car in front of them. Fortunately, they avoided an accident. After getting out of the car, they saw that all the cars leaving the town were stuck in traffic. At that moment, a government helicopter appeared, announcing a curfew. A rare virus had broken out in the town, and to prevent its spread, residents were ordered to return home and self-isolate. Upon hearing this news, the man and his family were terrified. At that moment, a large rock fell from the sky and crushed their car. Looking up, they saw that the mountains were shaking violently. 2 fighter jets flew overhead, heading directly towards the town. People started to wonder why such heavy military power was needed to control a virus. They saw a terrifying sight. The fighter jets flew over the town and started dropping bombs, turning the once quiet town into a sea of fire in an instant. Watching their former home being destroyed, everyone was in shock, but they soon realized that isolation meant total destruction. However, it was too late to escape. The fighter jets turned back towards them. The jets were coming straight at the crowd, determined not to leave anyone alive. However, the woman remained calm. She looked towards the mountaintop and grabbed her husband and daughter, running towards it. As soon as they left, it turned out that there was an old abandoned school at the top of the mountain, which had a long-forgotten shelter that everyone in the town knew about, but only the woman remembered in time to save her family. Once they opened the hatch, they quickly went inside without hesitation. As soon as they closed the hatch, a bomb hit the school, destroying it completely, but the structure of the shelter was solid, and it remained unaffected from that point on. The family settled into the shelter. It had ample space and plenty of canned food to support them for a long time. Their daughter would take a small knife and mark a line on the wall. Before they knew it, they had spent 301 days in this dark shelter. The man planned to leave with his family once the virus outside had settled down, but one day, something unexpected happened. While playing a game with his daughter, a sudden force attacked the shelter's exit. Seeing that the force was about to break through, the woman risked her life to climb up and hold the hatch, but it was no use, as the hatch soon opened a crack, revealing a pair of yellow eyes peering in. It was a terrifying sight. Fortunately, the man quickly grabbed a metal rod and struck the creature's face, forcing it to retreat. He then placed the rod across the hatch to prevent it from opening further. The next few days were relatively peaceful. One day, their daughter, feeling hungry, opened a can of food, but she found a hole in the side, and the food was missing. The couple quickly checked the other cans, discovering that many of them were empty as well. 12 cans in total, which accounted for about half a year's worth of their supplies. They were shocked, as there were only 3 of them in the shelter, who could have stolen the food. Eventually, they found the culprit. A large rat was feasting on their food supplies. Luckily, the woman acted quickly and struck the rat with a stick, killing it at the entrance of the hole. However, killing the rat led to a bigger problem, and attempted to put out the fire with his bare hands. But that was a foolish move, as he burned his hand, and the fire on the lamp started to spread rapidly. With the fire threatening to destroy the entire shelter, the woman tore down a piece of curtain to smother the flames. While the man fetched a bucket of water. Together, they managed to put out the fire before any major damage was done. Though the fire was extinguished, the family's nerves were still on edge. They realized that the shelter had a ventilation hole, and smoke from the fire was escaping through it. They feared that the smoke might attract the monsters outside. The man kept watch at the vent with an oil lamp, observing the outside. Luckily, no monsters appeared, but he remained cautious. He improvised a periscope to monitor the area outside more closely. After confirming there were no immediate threats, he relaxed a bit. But the woman noticed that the burnt wood was covered with ash, and she realized that if the ash spread outside, it could reveal the location of the shelter to the government forces. She explained her concern to her husband, pointing out that the ash could expose their hiding place. They had witnessed the government sending fighter jets to bomb the town. And they knew there was no chance of survival if they were discovered. The couple decided to go outside and clear away the ash to avoid detection, warning her not to open the door no matter what happened outside. As soon as the parents left the shelter, the little girl grabbed the periscope and nervously observed the outside. After a quick sweep, she suddenly saw a shadow pass by, startling her. Gathering her courage, the girl looked again through the periscope and realized that the shadow was just her father. Relieved, she continued to observe the area. But as she turned the periscope towards the distant forest, she could see something moving rapidly toward the shelter, and it wasn't human. In a panic, she shouted to warn her parents, but her voice didn't reach them. Desperate, the family rushed back to the shelter, but they weren't fast enough. A monster soon appeared above the shelter, trying to find the entrance. Just when they thought they were safe, the girl's toy doll suddenly made a loud noise. The man quickly grabbed it and smashed it, hoping the sound hadn't attracted the monster. Unfortunately, it was too late. The monster had already located the shelter and was attacking the entrance. The man quickly grabbed his wife and daughter, running deeper into the shelter to escape. The monster followed them, but the woman threw an oil lamp at the curtains, setting them on fire and temporarily blocking the creature, but they knew the fire wouldn't hold it back for long. Their only hope was to escape through the ventilation shaft. They managed to help their daughter through. But when it was the man's turn, he got stuck due to the narrow opening. Realizing he might not make it, the man told his wife and daughter to go on without him and prepared to face the monster alone. They heard his screams as the creature attacked. The woman, holding back her tears, grabbed her daughter and ran towards the town. As they passed the road where they had once parked, they saw that all the cars had been destroyed, each one marked with a sign that read, "Quarantine Zone." At that moment, a military helicopter spotted them. The woman tried to run, but a net suddenly dropped from the sky, trapping them. A group of armed soldiers approached, and the woman realized the yellow-eyed monsters were actually government forces. They took a blood sample from the little girl and prepared to execute them both on the spot. But just as the order was given, the commander was suddenly killed by a figure from behind. It was the man from the shelter. To save his wife and daughter, the man had activated the virus within him, turning into a monstrous form with incredible strength. He quickly killed several soldiers, but despite his power, he was still human and was eventually shot. Wounded, the man collapsed, his body slowly reverting back to its human form. Seeing her husband's life in danger, the woman was filled with rage and prepared to fight back. Before the soldiers could finish them off, the man broke free from the net and took his daughter with him, killing a few more soldiers in the process. However, the woman was shot and fell to the ground. As the remaining soldiers thought they had gained control of the situation, they completely overlooked the little girl. Furious over her parents' plight, she leaped at one of the soldiers, just as she was about to deliver a deadly blow. Her mother stopped her in time. She didn't want her daughter to carry the burden of killing at such a young age, but the girl, now overwhelmed by her rage, lost control and turned towards her mother, seeing her as a threat due to the virus inside her. Fortunately, the woman quickly calmed her down, helping her regain control. However, they now had to face a harsh reality. The man was critically wounded, with little hope for survival. The man's last words were to ask his wife to take care of their daughter. Then, he let go and passed away. Despite their grief, the mother and daughter had no time to mourn, as the government forces were relentless, and reinforcements were already on their way. A helicopter started chasing them, firing at their location. Left with no choice, the woman grabbed her daughter and escaped into the sewers. The world outside had clearly become uninhabitable for them, but where could they go now? A young boy suddenly found them. This boy was actually the child of their former neighbors, and under his guidance, the mother and daughter were led to a hidden refuge where the town's other survivors had gathered. After silently saying her goodbyes to the outside world, she closed the entrance to the refuge without hesitation.